President Bola Tinubu says those challenging Nigeria's sovereignty will face huge consequences for their actions. He issued the stern warning during a meeting with members of Afenifere, the pan-Yoruba sociocultural group at Aso Rock Villa. The warning follows recent incidents, including that of Yoruba Nation agitators who invaded the Oyo State Governor's office and the State House of Assembly building, as well as other agitations in the southeast region. Tinubu reaffirmed the government's commitment to defend the nation against external threats while highlighting the progress made in combating terrorism. He reiterated the government's stance on refusing ransom payments and tackling banditry, kidnapping and corruption.
Well, the president outlined plans to invest in education, address youth unemployment and stimulate economic growth, including a proposed unemployment compensation for vulnerable individuals. During the meeting, Afenifere leaders urged the president to address the poor condition of federal roads in the southern region. They also expressed support for the establishment of state police, emphasizing the need for equitable appointment of heads of security agencies.
Degraded terrorism to a level that they could not threaten the sovereignty of this country any longer. Well, it is always hard to defeat economic opportunity that might open up in this type of challenges, particularly when the country is equally challenged economically. So, the banditry kidnapping that they've resorted into will also be defeated. I declined any ransom, no payment of ransom whatsoever. We are taking the battle to them, and we are getting a result more rapidly than ever before. The case of Kuriga and many other, kidnapped children is evident in the way we rescue them from Sokoto to Katsina to Kaduna and others, now more expeditiously than ever before. We are working hard on intelligent gathering and execution of our programs. Those that might thought they can threaten the sovereignty of this country will have themselves to blame. They have a price to pay.
Afenifere is in support of the campaign for state police. We believe this will enhance the security of life and property. We also want Your Excellency to look at the command structure of federal security agencies to ensure equity and justice in the posting and deployment of senior officers. Equity should also reflect in the recruitment of security personnel from the bottom up. Unemployment has become a big burden for our country, where we have more than 70% of the population below the age of 30. We would like to appeal that federal government capital projects, including road projects, should be geared towards creating employment.
Let's bring in Oba Falae, the Olu of Iluabo, and Baba Oba of Akure land. He's an elder statesman who once served as secretary to the government of the Federation, a finance minister, and a presidential candidate in the 1999 election. Good to see you, Kabiyesi, and thanks for finding time to come live here. You insisted that you want to come live, and it shows the importance of what we're talking about today in present-day Nigeria. Thank you so very much. Let's start by talking about this conversation you just had with President Tinubu. First, before coming to the villa, what were the concerns of Yoruba leaders Afenifere, other Obas, other traditional rulers concerning developments in Nigeria?
Well, thank you very much indeed. First of all, we came to reciprocate Mr. President's visit to our leader, Chief Afenifere in Akure last month. When it was in Akure, we did promise that we would reciprocate the visit. So we came to keep our word. That's one. Of course, we can't just come to say, hi, Mr. President, we've come to reciprocate and go back. No. We did commend Mr. President for some of the very bold but necessary decisions he took. But at the same time, we pointed out the need to address the issues of concern to the nation. Unemployment, insecurity, decayed infrastructure, etc. And urged him to address those problems so that the people of Nigeria can live a more satisfying life. We even promised to send him a paper on how his government might create employment on a massive scale by using existing artisans in our country as trading units in an attempt to start what I call a national apprenticeship training program. I can elaborate on that because you see, most of the young people don't train for the skills anymore. They are anxious to make money, not tomorrow but today. And I believe because of unemployment, terrorist organizations find it relatively easy to recruit people into their ranks. So we believe that if government were to introduce a national apprenticeship training scheme using existing artisans in all our cities and villages, we'll be able to take millions of young people off the street and give them skills. Of course, this will involve government upgrading the training facilities of the artisans. Government may also have to give some incentive to those trainers as well as the trainees where they trained, so that we stay in the courses. And this will do 3-4 things. One, I reckon that at least some 10 million young people could be involved in such a training program, create employment. Two, it reduce violence and reduce and increase security, weakening the recruiting base of the terrorist organizations. Three, it will give Nigeria a much needed core of skilled people, middle-level manpower, to maintain and repair the housing stock in the country and help to erect and build houses and schools and other structures that are new. And fourthly, it will provide political stability. Unemployment is is like a time bomb. And by picking up 5-10 million young people and putting them in these training programs, you considerably reduce the tension in the system. And then you empower some 10 million people who had no income before with income, and this will be most welcome to manufacturers because we are giving them additional customers that cannot buy things from them. So the way you look at it is it's a win-win situation. And we're going to elaborate the scheme and send it to Mr. President because we are here to assist him. He alone cannot solve all the problems of Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Whoever has any good idea as a patriotic Nigerian should articulate it and send it to him so that he can succeed for all our sakes.
Absolutely, Kabiyesi. I mean, it's not every time that you have the opportunity to, be in the presence of a Kabiyesi like yourself, and very well put some of the recommendations and, of course, the demands that you made of President Tinubu during your visit. Does it also have anything to do with the recent agitations of the so-called Yoruba nation. Was your visit, ostensibly to reassure the president that the Yoruba nation sentiments they don't represent, the generality of the Yoruba?
Not really, because we never thought, and we don't think, that the agitators represent the Yoruba. We know it, the president knows it. We've been in the struggle for a very long time. The president and I and some of us were in the forefront of the Nadoko struggle. He was driven abroad into exile. I was locked up for 2 years. So we know those who really represent our people. I think this is a bunch of misguided people because what they are trying to do is absolutely ridiculous. How can a bunch of 20 people go to the secretariat and think they will take over the government of Oyo State? No, we didn't come because of that at all. It's a mere coincidence that the efforts were made in Ibadan a few days ago. We have planned this for a very long time. However, I believe that if the nation needs to be reassured, our visit should reassure the country that the Yoruba nation is solidly behind the president. That those agitators do not and can never represent us.
Right. Now let's talk about some of the demands that you made of President Tinubu. Let's take restructuring.
If you don't mind, we didn't make any made requests.
Okay.
No demands.
Oh, requests.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Requests.
I mean, thanks for correcting that.
Yes.
So you made this request, and restructuring was one of them.
Yes, indeed.
President Tinubu, long before he became president, was known to be an apostle of restructuring.
Yes.
Are you satisfied with the response that you got, based on the number of requests that you made? Did he make any firm commitments, especially on the issue of restructuring?
Yes, you see, that we have as president someone who once fought for democracy, who once suffered for democracy. Means that we don't, you are speaking to the converted when you ask him to be part of constitutional change that will bring balance, development, and peace to the country. When President Buhari was in office, he said he would never read the report of the 2014 conference. We have a president, I'm sure, who must have read the report, who himself must have believed in many of the things that were done at the conference. So it is a major improvement as far as we are concerned. We commended him for being part of the attempt to introduce police, state police. If anybody had any doubts about the relevance and importance of state police, the events of the last few years should have reassured such people that state police is absolutely necessary. Let me add very quickly that the younger generation, I'm sure, do not know that once upon a time in our country, we had 3 police forces, certainly in the Western region. We had the Nigerian police force, which we still have. Then we had the regional police force. And I remember when I was a young man, one Mr. Omito Oju was the head of the regional police force. Then we had the local authority police force. Every major town in the West had its own police constabulary. Owo had one, Akure had one, Ibadan had one, Ijebu, every major town. So that we had 3 police forces in Nigeria maintaining peace. And there was no clash or conflict. And what happened was that when the Civil War came, the military, in the attempt to rapidly ramp up the number of soldiers to meet the emergency, virtually closed down those 2 police forces and took the personnel into the military, gave them military training to increase the number of the size of the army. And when the war ended, no one remembered to restore them. So the younger generation must be thinking that we have always had one single police force. No. We had 3 in the Western region in the colonial period. The British were no fools. They knew that not every crime could be effectively managed or controlled or investigated and prosecuted by one single police force, particularly in a federation. We seem to forget most of the time that we are a federation. A federation means we have one nation, one country, but different regions or federating units that have different problems, different opportunities, different priorities. And to accommodate all these, our leaders chose a federation. You have governments at the regional and state levels. Right. They are governments, they are not just administration. And we had the federal government at the center. So this permits every area doing its own, maintaining its own priority that are not in conflict with the national priority. So if a state police, to me, should have been established a long time ago. But if it's done at the present time, it will go a long way to address the security challenge we face. And without addressing that security challenge, nothing else can happen. Development cannot happen.
Just let me butt in. Sorry, apologies.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
We're out of time, but
yes.
quickly, listening to you reminds me of the president. You both sound alike, because before he became president, he was sounding this way. And I've also listened to you at different fora, sounding this way. You're still very much about this.
Yes.
Do you think the president is still on the same page as you just espoused, talking about federalism, true federalism?
It's a progressive. It's a federalist. Every Nigerian should be a federalist. Every Nigerian should be a federalist. This nation cannot survive as a unitary state. If you look at the country, the geography to start with, the challenges are different. When I was going to run for president, I did a study, base study, to find out the aspirations, the fears, and expectations of the people I was hoping to govern. And the results I got were very educative. I found, for example, that in the far north, the priorities were water supply, fertilizer, and roads. In the south-south, the problem was the opposite. Too much water, pollution, roads, education, and employment. There were no two zones or regions had the same priorities. And therefore, the solutions which constitute your development program cannot be the same. And that is why a federation is absolutely necessary. So we can address the priorities of the different parts of Nigeria without any conflict.
That's fine.
Oba Falae, yes. Very quickly, having been a victim of kidnapping yourself, what do you make of the stance of the federal government or President Tinubu when he says no ransom, to kidnappers? Do you agree with that position?
Very reluctantly, I agree. I explained that. I agree because as long as the kidnappers get large sums of money, they will continue to kidnap. In my domain, Iluabu, near Akure, the airport at Akure is partly on my land, so you know where we are. For the first time, one of my citizens was kidnapped last week. A laborer, a pauper, poor man, and his people had to raise 1 million naira to rescue him. Now, as long as we keep paying, they will keep coming. The hesitation I have is that when I was with the kidnappers, later when I came out, I was told that, of course, the President Buhari, I have to thank him. He sent the Inspector General of Police himself to go to Akure and fish me out. And when he got there, the Governor Mimiko, and the Nigerian police and the army put a team together to go and storm the bush where I was. But they pulled back at the last moment because they feared that if they rush the kidnapper, they might kill me. So refusing to pay ransom might endanger the lives of victims. But at some point, we have to make a decision that we have to pay a price, a national price, to free ourselves of kidnappers.
That's a fantastic place to leave it. Oba Olu Falae, thank you so much for joining us. Member Elders Forum, Afenifere, the Olu of Iluabo. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a delight.
Thank you for having me.